Okay,
That's a
so-
show?
Yeah.
We don't have our usual.
Day one.
Day one.
Welcome to Keepers of the Word. We're an esoteric study group of Freemasons whose purpose is of sharing esoteric knowledge and some other stuff too. That's about what I
Yeah,
got
disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
The content and our opinions that we share here at Keepers of the Word are solely our own opinions and not the opinions of any lodges or opinion bodies.
Or Grand Lodge.
Or Grand Lodge. And here we are.
Here we
This
go.
is Mike. This is Ron. We got James Bracero. And we have Mike Tugwell. So, Mike, we're in the Scottish Rite Library. Can you give me a little bit of history about this building and the library?
It was built in the early 20s to satisfy the capacity of we needed people, we needed a place to meet. And they built this beautiful building in the theater. And the theater is beautiful. It's named after, been dedicated to Ernest Borgnine, one of our longtime members, and really great guy. Got to meet him and hang out with him a bit during those days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I joined in '86, he was still here. Royal Dana was one of my good buddies there. He actually offered me a job in Hollywood for the work I did here on the stage.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of good people. We were doing all the degrees twice a year.
Wow.
So we were here every Friday night working hard.
That's a lot of degrees.
And we do 29 degrees. There are 29 degrees in the Scottish Rite. From the 4th to the 20th to the 32nd.
To the 32nd.
The 33rd is an honorary degree
Right.
per service.
And that's pretty much you're serving your valley, you're serving your community, and you get recognized for that.
And the community included Audie Murphy was a member here. Tom Mix, he was his carpet.
Oh.
And a lot of Hollywood background people did all the painting and the artwork in the theater.
Is there any,
all those
like,
backdrops are all
cowboy
real
actors?
Hollywood props. People did those backdrops and created those props. So it's
Any
in
big time
costuming.
actors?
Well, Ernest Borgnine has pretty good size.
Right.
Audie Murphy. is
Audie
one.
Murphy was a
Murphy.
war hero.
Actually, I just saw because Audie Murphy was a member of North Hollywood Lodge,
Yes.
and those guys just posted a picture of the Tyler's record from the night that Audie Murphy was raised, and that record, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the book was filled. I mean, they packed the house the night Audie Murphy was raised.
Well, if you're in the right lodge and the right conditions, like when I was raised, my book was pretty full too. Because I was a Dean Lay first.
Okay.
So I knew all the members of the lodge. I was their dishwasher before I came in and got to join the lodge as a Dean Lay. So I was at every stated meeting, I knew all the brothers. And so when it was time for my third degree, which was also a past master's night, where the past masters perform all the work, it was a full house.
That's a pretty good honor. I know that
Yeah.
we've done several past masters nights at our lodge, and it's definitely an honor to be the person that's getting the degree the night that you have all the past masters.
Well,
there.
our two oldest past masters from 1935 and 1937 were both there, and one of them was my senior deacon in the second section.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
And it was some of the most beautiful ritual you'll ever hear from those guys from the past doing it right.
Because they get it first time, first
Yeah.
shot. Huh? That's a lot of memory, a lot of memorization. In your history here, is there any specific memorable moments that you've had in this building that?
Well, meeting all those guys and doing all that work. And when I was behind Royal Dana when we were signing in to come in, and we both went upstairs to robing, and we just hit it off. And he offered me a job after the degrees. He said, because I had had the lead part in the first degree of the night, and then his degree was going on, and then I was the final degree. We were walking up the stairs, and the degree master of that degree runs down the stairs. "Oh, you're Mike Tugwell, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been looking for you. I hear you do a good ritual and learn quickly." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I need the lead for my degree, the last degree of the night. We don't have anyone. My lead guy, his wife's in the hospital and won't make it. Can you learn it?" And I said, "Well, I could do my best. I'll learn most of it, but I'm not going to learn that obligation. The obligations are fairly long in Scottish Rite."
Right.
And he says, "Don't worry, that's already in big print on the altar. You can read that." And then I did the work, learned the part, and did it from memory. And I was sitting exhausted after getting out of makeup and because we did full makeup and
Right.
beards, and I was playing the role of King Solomon in both degrees, so I was a lot of beard and makeup
A lot.
and costuming. And I got done, and I sat out exhausted in the dining room, because not only did I do 2 degrees, I had to learn one of them.
Right.
And so
And just the decompression
yeah.
from,
And I'm just there, and Royal puts his hand on, comes from behind me, I don't see him, I'm trying to eat my pie, and he puts his hand on my head, and he says, son, I saw you get that part, and you blew it out of the water. That's the most amazing job you did on your work. He says, if you ever need a job in Hollywood, you give me a call.
wow.
So that was that's pretty memorable.
Yeah, that's definitely memorable. It's definitely memorable. So, speaking to, say, someone like myself, I haven't joined any other opinion bodies. What would you say, hey, how would you say, talk to somebody saying, hey, maybe you should check out the Scottish Rite. Maybe you should go through that.
The first thing I would say before that is to make sure you understand and work with the Blue Lodge first. Stay at your home lodge, your mother lodge. Learn what you can about the first 3 degrees. Because that's the foundation for all the other education that you're going to have in any Masonic work. And this is more like continuing education, college, if you will, university. And so everything builds on what you've learned before. So if you haven't got the good foundation, that's the first thing I would recommend. Oddly enough, I'm not out to get people to join right away
Correct.
because I want you to have a good foundation and not miss the lessons that are taught in those degrees.
Right.
And then if you're curious about new things and want to continue your education, then this is the place to come, one of the two. I did not go York Rite. I don't know how that works, but they don't have the same number of degrees that we do. We don't perform as many of them. And so this is there's a lot more depth to me here than there would be there.
Okay.
I was able to join York Rite, and I enjoyed the esoterics behind it, but my opinion was that I think the people that are within York Rite don't truly see the esoterics behind York Rite versus, I haven't joined Scottish Rite yet. I am interested, but from my understanding of people involved in Scottish Rite, they understand the esoterics behind Scottish Rite, the degrees, the different teachings, the different mystery schools that are incorporated into it. And now that I've learned that, I'm truly appreciative of it and very interested in joining.
And you guys here, having talked with you before, you guys I would recommend for Scottish Rite because there's that depth there, and you have the foundation to go on.
Right. Yeah,
We're a new Mason.
really interested in joining. So, especially after hearing you talk about it in our previous conversations that we've had, and just in general, like whenever you hear somebody talk about the Scottish Rite, it's kind of like there's this mysticism behind it, right? And that's kind of what intrigues me about Masonry. That's what brought me to Masonry. So it just makes sense for us to be a part of it. I mean, this is what we're about. We're keepers of the word. We're about knowledge, and look at what we have around us. And this guy was in charge of putting all this together and making the library functional. So
The books were all here.
yeah, but you still got to number them, and you still got
I had to do
you had to do all the work.
data entry.
So,
Yes.
Yeah, having a bunch of books in a room, you can call it a library, but until you have stuff numbered and documented, and if people want to be able to check stuff out and read it and learn the knowledge, then...
Well, when I took over, they were numbered and documented, but they'd lost half the numbers. So I had to re-enter thousands of numbers. We have 1,700 books. Oh, we have 1,700 cataloged books in the database, and then almost that many authors, and they lost all the author numbers. So I had to. So that's what I've been doing. Well, I finished that this weekend, and now we couldn't have sat at these tables before Saturday afternoon because there were books and things piled on them that I managed to get on the shelves or in these shelves, ready to catalog.
Well, it looks nice and neat now. It looks clean, and it looks like you did a great job. So thank you.
It's my love of books and masonry and esoterica that made me want to be this job.
Same here.
I took a little break. I took a little break from Scottish Rite because I had money issues, and when they got me reinstated, they reinstated me because I got my reinstatement because I heard this position was open, and I knew that I would do the job justice.
Right.
Yeah. This is a dedication. This is like a life's work right here, man. Especially with all the information that you have here. There's books back there that I was looking at. I'm like, dude, I never heard of that. And you do have books here. I'm not going to say what they are, but they're it's not something that you would find at a library. It's not something that you would even find. You would have to go to like a rare bookstore to find these gems
Antiquarians.
with information, especially this one, which is the one that we always refer to as the Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. But this is the second edition. It is a beautiful piece of work, and I mean, if you touch the pages here, I mean, the artwork is beautiful, and the print is beautiful. And I know we have several different other versions of this, but until you see it in this version, then you haven't seen the book. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what version you have. If you've never seen it or had opened this up, then you haven't seen the book.
Now, this one we won't check out.
Well, I hope
even
you
though
don't.
even though we have 3 of them.
Yeah, well, I would never check these out.
We wouldn't check this out at all.
This is like the soul of the library here,
Yeah.
because I mean, if in the information that's in here,
Alone.
it's not just masonry. It's the secret teachings of all ages. It lives up to its name.
It's the philosophical history of the world,
Right.
and it is progressive. So you start at the beginning, and every chapter builds on the previous one. So you continue to learn more and more. He just adds more and more historically and more depth. So as you start at the beginning, it's simple, easy stuff. But when you get to the back, he's talking about some pretty heavy stuff. But you're ready for it because you've been reading the whole thing. If you read the whole thing cover to cover, it really follows that path. And that's kind of what the Scottish Rite does. It takes your first Blue Lodge degrees and adds more and continues to build on what you've learned.
So I just turned this page, right? And like you said, it gets pretty heavy into some stuff. So James, you want to take this one on, or?
I mean, there's many things that you can talk about.
You looked at me, really like,
well, yeah,
I need to know what that is.
it's this Pythagorean's little secret ring. So he liked to do a lot of stuff with shapes, as most people know him by. But those shapes that people know him by was just like the tip of the iceberg of those shapes. And here they're lettered, numbered, or they're giving significance to those shapes and what the shapes mean, what they are, what they entail, what they hold. So that's not something that's easily passed on to somebody. So I would say I would recommend, The Secret Teaching of All Ages. Highly recommend purchasing it and reading it, because this, like you say, it's very heavy in the back of the book, or at this stage already. But he expects you to read this, and you are lit
From
in.
front to back,
Yes.
to be able to get it all.
Yes, you're lit in slowly. So here we have Baphomet.
My favorite one.
Yeah.
Ceremonial magic and sorcery.
So this is an invocation.
Is this satanic stuff?
This is not.
This one really this one fits very well to Masonry in general.
And this is what a lot of people get confused. So you have people on the internet, YouTubing, probably not on YouTube, but YouTubing weird stuff, and you start getting random stuff. This is Baphomet. Everybody thinks this is Satan and stuff like that. That is not. That is Baphomet. And then Baphomet is not what you think, what that literally means.
Exactly.
So it's knowledge.
It's not Satan.
It's not Satan,
No.
no. It is definitely his knowledge. So
We're here in the corner.
he's there in the corner,
And
But the other thing about this, and this is what I was trying to I had a guy who was having trouble. I'm a candidates coach for years, and I had a trouble with. He was having trouble learning circumscribe, that word and what it meant. And this right here
well, you're
is an
inside
example.
being wrapped around.
But in this case, there are 2 ways you could think about it. In this case, the circle is protecting him from the outside, from the evil,
vice
or
versa.
if he's standing on the outside,
Yes.
it's protecting him from the world,
Correct.
or the world from him.
Depends on what
It's just
you're
on your point of
doing,
view.
yes, or
and
what
so-
you're putting in the
But
circle.
it's always a mystical circle of some kind that protects you in that way.
Right.
So let me ask you, as far as circumscribe being concerned, within our rituals, clockwise versus counterclockwise. I've seen some
Pushing and pulling.
I've seen some rituals from other jurisdictions that do the opposite of what we do.
I have never seen that.
Okay.
Not in Blue Lodge Masonry.
Okay. Yeah, I saw
Because
it.
we're always following the right-hand path.
Correct.
So we always sort
Blue
of
Lodge is
perambulate in the right direction. The left-hand path is the feminine. So unless you're going to do something with feminine energy, you don't want to go the left way. You always go to the right.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think it was Arizona ritual that they did their perambulations left. Yeah.
Counterclockwise.
Hmm.
You can look
Well,
at
that's
that.
interesting, yeah, I gotta check that out. That's some information I did not know, Mike, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good choice to flip to there, Mike.
Yeah.
Exactly, right. I just picked it,
You
it
know?
wanted to be
No,
read.
Just to educate, you know,
there's
some-
nothing, there are no coincidences.
There are
Yeah.
no, there are no.
Right. So
Only
this isn't
synchronicities.
something dark or anything
No,
like
it's
that.
not.
This is
really
very
isn't.
light.
And that's why we talk about this.
That's
right?
why we
That's
talk
why we're
about
here.
this.
We're here to educate you on what all these things are.
Yes, and these books like this help illuminate the symbols, illuminate us so that we can interpret the symbols. Because a symbol is designed to obscure from those that aren't ready to learn what its meaning is.
Right.
So that's going to be Rosicrucian.
Mhm.
That's CRC, it's Christian Rosicrucians. That's his tomb that they're talking about there. That was a pretty awesome guy. Yeah. There's a lot we can go into on that one. I like the floor.
Yeah, the floor, I mean, there's a lot of information just in this, the picture worth 1,000, no, it's worth more than 1,000 words.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on right here. And that's why you got to pick up this book, because there's just so much information.
Right.
And this is not something you could just read like within a couple months. This is something you have to digest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a lot of referencing.
Yeah.
I kind of, in a sense, I agree with the principle of what you said. But what I disagree, you can read it very quickly, and should. Any good book like this, the Bible, this book, the Blue Lodge Degrees,
Just gonna reread it.
as Morals and Dogma, you've got to read them and to get a feel for what they're about.
And then
Go back
Yeah.
and study them.
Mm.
And you get a better appreciation for them.
Yeah.
So I've read Morals and Dogma 4 times. It's not,
Yes.
the first time was just to get an idea of how it was written.
I first picked up Morals and Dogma when I was 16. I saw it at an antique mall,
Mhm.
and I bought it for, I think, $10. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I couldn't put it down, and I read all the degrees and stuff, and started seeing things that were similar. Some of the words in there I couldn't even pronounce, I didn't know what it was, so I would read it and have my dictionary, and have a piece of paper and write down all the words I didn't know what the heck that is.
And an encyclopedia.
Yeah,
Because
that's how I started
when
writing
he wrote-
stuff.
When he wrote that book, he wrote it with the assumption that everyone had the classical education that he would have had, or anyone of that
Right.
time would have had.
Right.
So
He
they
was a
learned about the
well-traveled
Greek gods,
man,
they
yes.
learned about in school, they learned about the Greek and
Right.
Egyptian gods and some basic philosophy.
Mhm.
So that was the basis. He expected you to know that before you read the book. And a lot of modern kids and kids of all ages, even adults, don't have that foundation.
No,
So it
it's-
takes them, you have to read that one on your second try
You
through.
probably
With the other, with help.
Yeah,
Right.
and you probably had to go to like either Catholic school or, some type of
Yeah.
private school in order to understand the
More philosophical.
more
I grew up
philosophical,
liking the Greek
religious
mythologies,
side. Because
you
now
know?
in public school, there's no way you're going to talk
Yeah,
about these
the
things.
Iliad or something like
Yeah.
that, maybe.
So they leave that part
English.
out.
I was blessed, I was in a gifted program.
There you go.
So we did get exposed to all of that.
That's good. I went to Catholic school most of my life, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a similar idea.
I'm not gifted though. I'm blessed, but I'm not gifted. So moving right along, James, you brought some books that you wanted to share and talk about.
So, keeping in with Mountain P. Hall, his great works, he's one of my big favorite guys. I like to read and give lectures on and talk about, get people to go. And I always tell you guys at my lectures, I don't like to give references and specific quotes because that's me doing the work for you. If you guys want to know this, you guys should put a good foot forward and actually dig into a book. Read. I can tell you something all day and all night long. You guys can watch us on YouTube. You guys can listen to us on podcasts. But until you guys pick up a book yourself and read, you will not actually sink your teeth into it. You will receive it, but you will not digest it. So I encourage you guys to go out and to find it on your own. I want you guys to be mad. How come he didn't give me that reference? You know, what is he talking about? Is that for real? Get out there and prove me wrong. I want you to help me learn too, I don't know everything. But I've been collecting Mountain P. Hall since I think I was 17. I will not tell you how old I am right now, but I've been collecting Mountain P. Hall for a very long time. I have some first editions that are signed by Mountain P. Hall. These are just some books. The Secret Destiny of America, which is a must, right after The Secret Teachings of All Ages. I have some random ones that most people probably won't ever really see. It's Questions and Answers by Malachi Hall, which is a wonderful book to have. It will help you to read and digest some of his other books. The Ways of the Lonely Ones is a really good book. You have a book on healing, lectures on ancient philosophy. This one here is Journey in Truth, which is a really good one. I have that one signed. Pathways of Philosophy. He's one of my idols. It's what I kind of wanted to do. I had no books to read on all these different religions, so I started making my own books and my own dictionaries and stuff. And then I found Malachi Hall, and he was doing the same work. I thought it was amazing. So I have a few books here. I've set them on here, so you guys can go find them. You don't need first editions. You can go buy the more modern version ones, the cheaper versions. You can go to PRS, their online library. There's like, I don't know, 100,000 of them online of sacred texts you can go read, and his works as well. PRS, the Philosophical Research Society. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Philosophical Research Society. I recommend you guys go and check out.
He formed that, and Blavatsky
was
involved with
Yes.
the formation of it as well.
So that's my other favorite person. That's Theosophy. It's H.P. Blavatsky, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. She's a little Russian princess with a kick. You can say that. She likes smoking cigars and curse like a sailor. She's an awesome lady.
Seances.
Yes, seances. She liked going around disproving the fake seances and the charlatans and stuff. They hate her. She had death threats. She had people trying to kill her. She had personal bodyguards that wouldn't, that would end up dead because people would
call them.
Yeah, all kind of stuff. There's all kind of stories surrounding her. She's an amazing person. You have, I guess most people will know, Crowley. A lot of people know who Crowley is. He literally was in love with H.P. Blavatsky. He thought that he was the reincarnation of her. He followed her footsteps in India. He saw all his books. People make jokes about him in India on a pony or a burro. Donkey. So basically, that was because of H.P. Blavatsky. So he was following her footsteps. He went to the same, the monks' hermitage that she went to, and they wouldn't let him in.
Pilgrimages. Yeah,
the pilgrimages. They wouldn't let him in because they thought he was some crazy English guy. And then he basically yeah, he was, but he starved himself on the outside of the doors. And basically one day, they're like, "Hey man, this guy's not breathing no more," and he keeled over because he starved himself. For like 20 days, I don't know, something really long. He was all skin and bones, and finally they let him in. That's how he actually got in. They didn't want him dying on their doorstep, so they allowed him to come in. They started feeding him, and then they started conversing with him. They're like, hey, he does know stuff. So that's how he got taught by them. And, H.P. Blavatsky, that's Letters to Hindustan and all these wonderful places that she went in India. So these are just a small amounts of books. So you guys go pick up cool stuff from Malachi Hall. There's a new Secret Destiny of America, I believe.
What is that book about, if you don't mind me asking?
The Secret Destiny of America, man. That's really cool. It's basically about how our country, America that we live in.
Star America.
That's something a little bit different. That was philosophy about a star called America. If you follow that star, it will lead you to a land of honey and milk and honey that was prosperous, that was untouched, which later on, people were traveling there. There's a lot of information leading to who had that information. The Norse men, a lot of them have that, and they traveled there. The Egyptians had it. That's why they had trade with the Incas and the Mayas. They would trade.
Through the Phoenicians.
The Phoenicians.
The Phoenicians were the ones that
the
were
first ones that
sailors.
really had it.
They were the true sailors. Everyone else stuck close to the coastline. They were out to sea.
You have a lot of countries that they stuck to the coastline because they said it was in the middle. It was full of mud and stuck ships, so they couldn't get through.
Well, they just didn't know how to navigate.
They didn't have
without the coastline.
Right.
The Phoenicians were the first of the European.
The European descent,
to do that.
More southern. The Norsemen just hopped over the little frozen rainbow there over the top.
Exactly.
So you get a lot of Norse towers and stuff like that along up in Maine and up in northern areas and stuff like that. So come check these books out. Secret Destiny of America. You have Mitch Horowitz, who redid a lot of these books, Secret Teaching of All Ages. He is
Isn't Mitch Horowitz going to be at
South
South
Pasadena,
Pasadena?
First,
December 2nd.
first Monday.
December 2nd?
December 2nd, please go
It's
check
1
him
week
out.
from
He's
today.
Yeah,
dope.
it's a $10 donation. You go, show up, and bring $10.
I will be there.
I will be there.
You will be there? Yeah, I will be
Mike,
there
will
too.
you join us?
We'll have to see.
Okay.
Let's see, all right.
We'll try to get him to
You guys
join
want to come
us.
hang out, keep us the word, South Pasadena, come see Mitch Horowitz speaking on December 2nd. We will be there.
We're
Come
gonna
ask
make
us
Joe go.
questions.
He's right here.
I want to make Joe go.
Yeah,
Joe's
he's-
gonna go.
He's gonna go.
As long as he gets better, he'll go.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that we want to?
Ask Mike a little more about Scottish Rite, like his intake on esotericism.
So I have some questions, Scottish Rite. So what would so I am joining Scottish Rite. Hopefully,
Put my elbow in the table.
I believe come June. I think
Oh,
you
we're gonna
guys
take the
have.
big class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
class.
I'm gonna take
Yeah,
the big
yeah.
class.
That's what we'll
I've been
Our
waiting.
plan is.
So I do know my grandfather was here
Mm-hmm.
in '81, and he took the classes. So this is more of a pilgrimage for me to come here. I've always wanted to come here. This is going to be the end game for me. So I've
Oh, I
done.
don't think so.
Yeah, it's not the end game, but I mean, this is
It's
where
a new
I
beginning.
wanted to come and
To me,
reside.
I think
Yes.
it's gonna be a new beginning.
It's a
for you.
very, very big chapter in my life coming here. So this is all serendipity and all just, of us coming here and stuff like that. But so I've done the Blue Lodge, Mother Lodge. I've done York Rite. I've done all of York Rite. I'm a Shriner. Done the whole shrine stuff, hot sands, good stuff. But this one I saved for the last, so that I can do my most focus on here, because I feel I'm going to be here for quite a long time. It's a lot to digest. I've always loved Outer Pike, but what do you think people should expect to get out of this? I mean, not without giving away any
Whatever
secrets,
they
but I
get
mean,
in, whatever they put in.
right.
You can't get anything out of something if you don't put something in. Now, when you first agree, just like Albert Pike says, even if we make a Mason and he disappears, you never see him again, we still will have taught him something.
Still change them for sure.
So, enjoy the degrees.
Absolutely.
Listen to the content, listen to what they're doing, because there's a lot of deep symbolism in there. It's not just the surface stuff. There's a lot of things going on in every degree, so pay attention.
Yeah.
More so than you would on the Blue Lodge, because it's a different level now.
Right.
Right, and then, referring back to the Blue Lodge, in the symbolism in the Blue Lodge, there's a lot of esoteric knowledge in there. It's just, unfortunately, they don't talk about it. It's like you have to shake it out of them. Unfortunately, I had Ron, like after each degree, pull me aside and tell me a little deeper side of what was going on. And I feel we're doing a disservice to a brother if we're not explaining those parts.
Yeah, that was actually spoken to me about when I first joined Freemasonry. I asked how come certain things weren't talked about after my degrees, because I was already pretty well versed in a lot of the lore, stuff like that appertains to stuff like that.
We're just coming out of our shell, Mason. It's not like
Yes.
what happened is in the war, our brother Roosevelt told everyone, suggested that it might be a good idea, because the war was not just a war of fighting, there was a symbolic war, and there was some esoteric things going on. He gently suggested that before you go to war, you might want to join the lodge.
Well, you can understand the ideologies that was behind that.
So then,
from propaganda.
but
and
then they
everything else.
came back and had to feed their families and take care of their families, and they didn't go back to lodge, many of them. And so, as time progressed, rather than, they were told to keep things secret. So rather than err on and make them and word out what they shouldn't have, they said nothing. And it continued into the 50s, that was the decline, because they didn't say anything. And so we're just learning in the 70s, in my era, since I've been in the late 70s, early 80s, we're just learning again how to talk about Masonry.
That's beautiful, and it's something that we want to
And
cultivate and grow.
it's unfortunate that, like so many brothers that have still grown up through the 70s and 80s that should have been learning about those principles, the esoterics that have been essentially forgotten about within Masonry, didn't learn it. I mean, and it's nice that, I know from my experience and my perspective was that when I started learning a lot of those hidden symbols and stuff like that, and I would share it with some, older, as far as, not saying older in age, but older Masons. Some were very open to it and were surprised that they had never experienced that before, and were amazed and really enjoyed taking in that knowledge. And there were others that were just like, that's poppycock.
Well, they were social Masons. They were
Right,
belly Masons.
absolutely.
They were table
Right.
Masons, and
Correct.
which is okay. That's a good thing
Right.
too. We need those as well.
Okay, we need you guys as well,
Right.
help support.
But, yeah, so one of my things, I always, right away, I started becoming a candidates coach. And what I do, I don't just talk about the ritual. Well, I do. I do talk about the thing they have to learn, but I talk about little history pieces that we go.
Yeah, the whys
What did
behind
they,
it.
why, and why do we do this? And then when I give Masonic education lectures, I make them discussion groups. I don't make them lectures, because I want to learn something, and they're going to say something that's going to teach me something. So I want to make sure that they're good. It's a two-way
Yeah.
street. But I talk.
The teacher can become the student.
Yeah, but one of the first things I go do is all the monitorial stuff that's left out in the lectures. I start with those. I do one or two of them, and we discuss them.
Well, I don't remember who gave me the information that, basically they told me that if there's something within the degrees that makes you question it, you should definitely research further on that.
Absolutely.
Because there's going to be reasons behind it. That's a rabbit hole that you want to go down, because that's going to give you information.
And there's another phrase that you should, if they say something, there's a phrase that if you say it, the words after it are not necessarily historically true. And that's another rabbit hole you need to jump down, is when they say Masonic tradition informs us. Whatever comes after, you need to be studying that, because that's not, historically, it doesn't.
Right.
It may not be the way they say it.
That was part of our,
That's the rabbit hole.
our stories,
Yeah.
our
There's a lot of symbolism in masonry, and it was funny is I was on a Facebook page, and this dude was saying there's no pentagrams in masonry. Oh, come on, really, dude? You had to bring up Pythagorean. You had to talk about a bunch of other things, but it's there. It's one of the symbols, and it means something. It has a deep meaning. It has nothing to do with Satanists. It has nothing to do with any of that. Even the Eastern Star. If you look at the Eastern Star, it's an inverted, but it's made out of it's from the Medal of Valor.
No,
Well, I know,
that's
but
not where it comes from.
Actually, I read something that said it was made, the way it was inverted was from the Medal of Valor.
He's gonna break it down right
Break
now.
it down.
Break it down.
Break it down.
It is the Eastern Star. The star that pointed the way to where the manger lay.
Hmm.
It didn't point up into the sky. That star pointed
Down.
down
What
to
star
the
was that?
ground.
It was the Eastern Star, right?
The star that showed us the way to the,
That the mad guy would follow you.
Yeah.
The North Star.
yeah.
Right.
It pointed down, it didn't point up.
And you have the five
Yeah.
pieces, with the
Five elements.
five elements, the five heroines of the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So there's a
Which we
lot
gave
of
names that didn't have
deep,
names in the Bible.
esoteric meaning there.
Absolutely.
But of course, to get that out of somebody, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
either you don't know it or
Or they're afraid that's secret.
ugh,
That's
Okay. Yeah.
that's the biggest hurdle I've come over since I joined the fraternity. That's the biggest hurdle I've had to jump over. Is nobody knows. That's why I went out on my own and studied these things,
Right.
because they couldn't tell me. They couldn't tell me.
well,
or so they thought.
They said they thought.
Right.
so yeah, I mean, there's so much to learn. There's so much reference in many different paths of the ancient mystery schools, and it isn't just the working tools. There's so much more.
Every symbol is a working tool.
Technically, yeah, right. It
Every
is, because
symbol is
it
a working
applies to your life.
That
It's
symbol
about
is applying you
it's
hidden
it's
knowledge,
applying
esoteric knowledge
to the
that you're
philosopher's
gonna
stone
receive.
to change yourself from within. So to say there's no alchemy in masonry, the whole point of masonry is alchemy.
Yep.
You're changing
What
yourself
is the
from
point
within.
within a circle, alchemically?
Exactly.
The
The sun. Yeah.
It's not. It's right there in plain sight.
Yeah, it's right in front of you.
But I had a past Grand Master of Oregon once, because they taught classes on how to teach masonry,
Well,
how to teach
well,
people.
damn.
And they had
I would
little
love to
workshops.
take that
They had
class.
little workshops on how to do that. And one of the things he said at the end of all of it was, we all here in this room are master masons.
Mhm.
But because of the depth of the subject, none of us master the craft.
Of course not. That's forever. So you've taken that course.
Yeah,
Oh, so you can teach that course.
I got it.
Oh, awesome. So you guys are to hear where to do the course, where to start a curriculum.
But I just do it.
Okay.
That's the things we learned are the things I'm told,
Okay.
picking up the right threads and
You're making me-
adding you go along.
You're making me create a lot of things. I have a lot of ideas rolling right now.
So
We'll
that's
get
the
to
thing
the
I
future.
learned, how to be a teacher. I've always been a teacher. I think
That's amazing. That's a course I wish we had here.
So we're gonna wrap it up now. Mike, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show
Very,
and
very much.
giving us all this great information, and we hope to have more of you here, and we look forward to being a part of this family. Again, I don't know if,
I'm happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
moving forward, we're going to move our filming location to the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Long Beach, and many of us are we're going to join.
We are.
We're going to join. We're going to go down this path, and we look forward to it. We're no longer going to be at LA Harbor. We're going to be here, and we're looking forward to some new information in regards to Micro Lodge. So hopefully, we get that going, and we can, create some better, a nice
A change.
with good brothers
A new
and
path.
creating this
Room for
esoteric
growth.
lodge, and
Absolutely.
and building more on top of that. So look forward to some more events. Our lecture series is coming up. We have a lot of events coming up, and
Should we talk about what we're trying to plan? What we are currently working on, we get asked about all the time.
what did you go for?
So we get asked all the time from our lovely fans, Esotericon 2. That is in the works.
Yes,
There will be an Esotericon 2. Please be patient.
it'll be here.
We are trying to formalize and make it better than what it was before. We're going to have definitely more lectures and more information and more things that we had prior. So
As soon as we can get the groundwork for it done, and we can start having a setup for the vendors, we will absolutely let you know right away, because we know many of our vendors from last year
our vendors
are
are
interested,
knocking on our doors.
are interested in being involved again, and we have more new vendors that want to be involved as well, and we'll have plenty of vendor space here, so
I think
we'll
we're,
let you know.
yeah, we're gonna start opening the doors to vendors to purchase their spaces within the next month and a half to get that started and book in your area. There will be 10 by 10 spaces, and I think we have room for about 100 vendors. So it's gonna be bigger. We're gonna have lectures, we're gonna have music, we're gonna have food. So it's gonna be another great event. We look forward to putting it together for you guys. And we also look forward to our new home here at the Scottish Rite.
Yep.
Shout out to the Rite Care Center.
Right there.
Yes, they're located here in the Scottish Rite building, and they do a lot of good for children. Donald Joe brought us over here. We owe it to him. A special shout out to that guy. He made it happen. And the pirate, yes. Arson.
Arson the Pirate.
Arson and Omen for always being readily available to help us out. He just got his first degree about a week ago, right? And we look forward to going down that path with him. Meanwhile, all our fans, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, at Refreshment, First Three Knocks, check those channels out. Those are some cool cats. And
Carl Hearn.
Carl Hearn, we
New Grange.
appreciate you. And everybody else, thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we look forward to bringing you more content. Over and out.
See you next
Later,
time.
guys.